Do you ever feel mentally exhausted even when you've done nothing physically tiring? But that's overthinking. Today we are solving the silent habit that steals your peace, drains your energy, and keeps you stuck by learning how staying meaningfully busy can protect your happiness. The mind is a powerful tool. It can create dreams, solve problems, and imagine beautiful futures. But when left idle, the same mind can become your greatest enemy. Overthinking is not deep thinking, it is repetitive thinking, it is replaying conversations, it is imagining worst case scenarios, it is worrying about things that haven't happened. And the more you sit without direction, the louder your thoughts become. Peace does not come from stopping thoughts. It comes from directing them, and one of the simplest ways to direct the mind is through purposeful action. That is why staying busy, not distracted, but meaningfully busy, becomes a powerful antidote to overthinking. Overthinking does not begin big problems, it begins with empty space. When the mind has no direction, it searches for something to process, and often it chooses fear. Think about the times you overthought the most. It was usually late at night, or during unstructured time, or during unstructured time, or when you were alone without clear focus. An idle mind magnifies small issues into large crises. A simple comment becomes a personal attack. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A minor mistake becomes a lifelong failure. Why does this happen? Because the mind, when not engaged in meaningful activity, turns inward excessively. It replays the past, it predicts the worst future, it creates stories that feel real but are not. The more you sit in that mental loop, the stronger it becomes. Overthinking feels productive because you are thinking, feels productive because you are thinking, but in reality, you are circling the same thoughts without resolution. It drains energy, it steals joy, it creates anxiety. And the dangerous part is this: the more idle time you have, the louder the mind becomes. The mind needs engagement, it needs direction, it needs purpose. Without it, it defaults to worry. When you stay meaningfully busy, something shifts. Your attention moves outward, your focus moves to tasks, your energy moves into action. And when attention moves, overthinking weakens. This does not mean you avoid your problems. It means you stop feeding imaginary ones. There is a difference between reflection and rumination. There is a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection helps you grow, rumination traps you. When you engage in purposeful work, learning, creating, exercising, serving, building, your mind enters a state of flow. In flow, there is no room for unnecessary worry. There is presence, there is concentration, there is clarity. That clarity is peaceful. Notice how calm you feel after completing something meaningful. Notice how anxiety reduces when you are actively solving something. That is because action organizes your thoughts. An idle mind magnifies problems. An engaged mind minimizes them. Staying busy does not mean running from life. It means channeling your mental energy into constructive paths. When you give your mind meaningful work, it stops creating unnecessary drama. It becomes your ally instead of your enemy. The truth is, most of the battles we fight daily exist only in our imagination. And imagination, when unmanaged, can become overwhelming. But when guided through action, it becomes creativity instead of anxiety. Your mind is powerful. If you do not give it direction, it will choose its own. And often that direction leads to doubt. Staying meaningfully busy is not about exhaustion. It is about intentional engagement. It is about choosing movement over mental noise. Because when your hands are building, your mind stops breaking you. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty. Uncertainty grows in inaction. When you keep thinking about what could go wrong, but you take no step forward, your mind fills the silence with fear. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if it doesn't work? The questions multiply. Your heartbeat rises, your confidence drops. But something powerful happens the moment you take action. Even a small step shifts your energy. Action interrupts anxiety. It gives your mind evidence instead of imagination. Instead of thinking, what if I can't do this? You start of king. What if I can't do this? You start experiencing. Let me try. Anxiety lives in delay. It grows when tasks remain incomplete. It becomes heavier when decisions are postponed. That unfinished email, that project you keep avoiding, that conversation you fear having, the longer you avoid them, the larger they feel. But when you finally act, you often realize the problem was never as big as your thoughts made it. Action brings clarity. You may not solve everything instantly. You may not solve everything instantly. You may not succeed immediately. But movement reduces mental pressure. When you stay busy with purposeful effort, your brain switches from fear mode to focus mode, fear mode to focus mode. Instead of imagining disaster, you start concentrating on solutions. That concentration is calming. Have you noticed how anxious you feel before starting something difficult and how relieved you feel once you begin? The task didn't change. Your engagement did. Overthinking exaggerates. Action evaluates. Overthinking exaggerates. Action devaluates. Overthinking assumes. Action discovers. The mind fears what it does not understand. When you take steps forward, you replace assumption with experience, and experience builds confidence. It does not matter how small the step is. Send the message. Start the workout, read the first page, write the first page, write the first paragraph. Small action breaks the cycle of paralysis. And once you begin, momentum follows. Momentum is power because it creates evidence. Evidence that you are capable, evidence that you are progressing, evidence that you are progressing, evidence that fear was louder than reality. When you stay busy solving, creating, improving, or learning, anxiety has less room to breathe. It cannot dominate a mind that is engaged in purposeful work. This does not mean you will never feel anxious again. It means you will know how to respond. Instead of sitting with fear, you will move with courage. Instead of replaying worst case scenarios, you will take practical steps. Action does not eliminate uncertainty completely, but it reduces helplessness, and helplessness is what makes anxiety unbearable. When you act, you reclaim control. When you reclaim control, your mind becomes steadier. Overthinking keeps you frozen. Action keeps you growing. And growth is the quiet enemy of anxiety. Confidence is not built by thinking about success. It is built by doing difficult things repeatedly. Many people wait to feel confident before they act. But confidence does not come first. Action does. When you stay purposefully busy, you create small wins throughout your day. You complete tasks, you learn new things, you improve skills, you solve problems. Each small completion sends a message to your mind, and message to your mind, comparable. That message repeated daily becomes confidence. Overthinking, on the other hand, weakens confidence. The more you analyze your flaws, your past mistakes, your imagined failures, the smaller you begin to feel. You start doubting your abilities, you question your decisions, you hesitate more often, but purposeful busyness interrupts that pattern. When you engage in meaningful work, you shift focus from self doubt to self development. Instead of asking, am I good enough? You start asking, how can I improve? You start asking, how can I improve? That shift is powerful. Confidence is not about believing you are perfect. It is about trusting that you can handle challenges, and that trust grows through even bonds. One, you consistently show up, even when you consistently show up, even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you are disciplined. When you finish what you start, you prove that you are reliable. When you learn something new, you prove that you are adaptable. These proofs build inner belief. Purposeful busyness also reduces comparison. When you are fully gauged in your own growth, you have less time to measure your life against others. Comparison fuels insecurity. Creation fuels confidence. When your hands are building something meaningful, your mind has less space for jealousy or doubt. You begin to compete with your past self instead of other people. That is healthy growth. That is healthy growth. Over time, this consistent engagement transforms your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who overthinks. You start seeing yourself as someone who acts. Identity change is powerful because behavior follows. Identity change is powerful because behavior follows identity. If you believe you are proactive, you take initiative. If you believe you are proactive, you take initiative. If you believe you are disciplined, you stay consistent. If you believe you are capable, you take on bigger challenges. Purposeful busyness creates that belief system. It is not about being busy for the sake of distraction. It is about choosing activities that stretch you, teach you, and move you forward. Learning a skill, working toward a goal, improving your health, serving others. These activities expand your competence, and competence creates confidence, and competence creates confidence. The more you engage in growth oriented work, the less fragile your self esteem becomes. It is no longer dependent on praise or approval. It becomes rooted in experience. When challenges arise, you do not panic as easily. You have evidence of your resilience. You know you can figure things out, and that quiet self trust is far more powerful than temporary motivation. Staying busy with purpose does not just protect you from overthinking, it slowly reshapes who you believe you are. Chaos in your schedule often creates chaos in your mind. When your day has no structure, your thoughts wander without boundaries. You wake up without a clear plan. You move from one distraction to another. You react instead of act. And in that unstructured space, overthinking thrives. And in that unstructured space, overthinking, the mind feels unsettled when there is no direction. It starts searching for problems to solve, even if they do not exist. It creates unnecessary worry because there is nothing purposeful holding its attention. Structure brings stability. When you decide how your day will flow, you reduce mental clutter. You know what needs to be done. You know when you will do it. You know where your focus should go. This clarity is calming. Structure does not mean rigidity, it means intentional planning. When you plan your day with meaningful tasks, you eliminate the question, what should I do now? And that question left unanswered often leads to distraction or rumination. A structured day gives your mind anchors, morning routine, focused work block, exercise time, learning time, reflection time. These anchors guide your energy. Without them, your day becomes reactive, and reactive living increases stress. When you stay busy within a clear structure, you reduce decision fatigue. Why in structure? You reduce decision fatigue. You stop constantly debating with yourself. You stop negotiating whether to act or delay. The plan has already decided. That removes internal conflict. Internal conflict is exhausting. It is the battle between what you should do and what you feel like doing. Structure reduces that battle. Over time, structured busyness builds rhythm, and rhythm creates peace. When you know your mornings are productive, your afternoons are purposeful, and your evenings are intentional, your mind never intentional, your mind relaxes. It trusts the system you have built. That trust reduces anxiety. Instead of wondering whether you are wasting time, you know you're progressing. Structure also protects you from emotional swings. On days when you feel motivated, you follow the plan. On days when you feel low, you still follow the plan. Because peace does not come from mood, it comes from consistency. It comes from consistency. A structured life does not eliminate problems, but it reduces unnecessary mental noise. You are too engaged in living intentionally to drown in overthinking. And gradually, your mind begins to settle. You think clearly, you act steadily. You worry less because your days are no longer random, they are directed. Staying busy within structure transforms scattered energy into focused momentum, and focused momentum creates mental peace. Overthinking steals your present moment. It drains your energy, weakens your confidence, and fills your mind with imaginary fears. But you do not silence overthinking by fighting your thoughts. You silence it by guiding your actions. When you stay meaningfully busy, you give your mind direction. When you take action, the anxiety loses its grip. When you build structure, peace begins to grow. You don't need to eliminate thoughts. You need to engage your life, move your body, build your skills, serve others, create something valuable. Because a mind that is building rarely has time to break itself. Stop overthinking. Start staying busy and watch how clarity replaces confusion, confidence replaces doubt, and peace quietly returns to your life.